With the release of X-Men 97, I've been filled with a sense of nostalgia as I grew up with the original series, and I have to say I am loving this latest edition which continues the story from where the original left off. Not to mention, with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out later this year, I thought it would be quite fun to do something X-Men related. So today I'm taking 3 of the X-Men and I'm putting them in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Let's bring these illustrations to life. Despite the glorious and fame-gathering professions in this world, there are those that are adept at the skills of shadow and darkness. Although all races have the potential, none are more adept at this than the Dark Fae. Amongst these are rogues, thieves and assassins that are able to move without a single sound or any trace of their presence. Among the rogues of the Dark Fae, there was one who had a unique ability, a mutation that had not been seen before amongst any of his kind. Remy Le Fay was a skilled rogue who often got into more trouble than it's worth. His unique ability allowed him to force his way into locked vaults, treasure rooms, and most secure areas. Most rogues would excel in lockpicking skills and take their time to learn how to pick the most difficult of vaults or treasure chests that they come across, becoming experts in their field. Remy, however, was able to charge kinetic energy in his body and infuse it into objects. Over time, Remy had made a name for himself, not just among the various thief guilds, but also within the ladies of multiple races. It turns out that this rogue had a very high level of charisma, and he certainly knew how to use it, often leaving many women heartbroken and turning their initial fear of Dark Faes and how Dark Faes looked into a seductive lust that leaves them hanging on the edge of his every word and action. It wouldn't be long before he earned the name Master Thief, more so for his ability to steal the hearts of those he charmed. However, it was during his travels while looking for an ancient treasure, one rumoured to have the power of granting any wish the wielder desires, Remy came across a lone adventurer from the hidden clans of the vampire race. This vampire was also a mutant of her people, much like Remy was to the Dark Fae. Despite his charms working on her since he was captured by her beauty, it was the first time a member of the opposite sex had made such an impact on him. Normally, he was the one in control. However, this time things were different. While they encountered each other for the first time, a drake roared in the sky, before swooping down and hitting the ground with an earth-shaking impact. It opened its wings wide, blowing the dust cloud aside as if it was nothing. The look of rage in its eyes could clearly be seen by Remy, as it opened its mouth wide and was about to breathe fire at the female traveller. It was in this fraction of a second, Remy swung his arm towards the dragon, throwing a series of playing cards that exploded when it hit the drake's face. The impact was so great that the drake was knocked back by the force of it. This terrifying creature had no time to rest, as the female adventurer flew over and hit the drake in the face with an almighty punch, sending it flying into the cliffside behind them. The force of the punch was so great, not only did it kill the creature, but it also caused the rock face to collapse around its corpse. As the dust from the punch settled, she looked over to Remy and delicately smiled as she flicked her hair while running a hand through it. The sight of this was what stole his heart. As their eyes met, it was as if both were drawn to each other by some strange force. Remy walked up to her as the cliff face continued to collapse around the corpse of the drake. Time seemed to slow as they got closer to each other, and Remy raised his hand to touch the female adventurer's chin. She grabbed his hand and took him by surprise. A look of shock and confusion filled his face. She looked at him and said in a sweet and alluring voice, "Sorry, sugar, but if you touch me, you'll die." Remy just smiled and replied with, "It would be worth it, Sherry." After they shared a moment, the pair introduced themselves. The vampire adventurer went by the name Rogue, a rather unique name. After some time talking, the pair decided to travel together. Both of them were infatuated with one another, but they were also reluctant to explain their pasts and details of their unique origins. During this time, Rogue revealed that she was a vampire with a rare mutation. Normally, a vampire would need to drink blood to suck the life force out of its victim. And in the case of some elders, they could absorb the memories and personalities for a short period of time. Rogue's mutation, however, was far more unique and had an unfathomable potential to be limitless. Her mutation allowed not only the draining of life force for anyone who makes direct contact with her skin within moments, but her power also let her take the skills of those who touched her. The longer the contact, the longer the skill would remain. There has been one case, however, where the transfer of the powers and skills was permanent. Although Rogue did leave the victim in a state of permanent sleep, the one side effect was the longer the contact, the more Rogue will take on the personality traits of those who touched her, even absorbing their memories. And for a time, she'd be confused between which were hers and which weren't. She also didn't have the normal weakness to sunlight, as other vampire members of her species. This was due to the abilities she absorbed, which remained permanent. This gave her an advantage that she could remain out in the daytime to travel and explore the world. After hearing this, Remy, who was completely infatuated with Rogue, still wanted to give her a kiss. Rogue thought he was crazy after knowing what would happen, but as much as she liked the idea and was drawn in by his strange charm, she still refused. Remy just smiled and they continued on their way, often flirting with Rogue, much to her amusement. As they were enjoying the company of another traveller, they noticed something strange with the weather ahead. The bright sunny day with clear skies started to become pitch black, echoing with the sounds of thunder and clashes of lightning. It was, to all who saw it, the perfect storm. The skies were clear with the sun shining. It looked like a sea of calming blues. That was until the winds picked up and the sky filled with pitch dark clouds. The earth beneath shook as the sound of thunder echoed for miles. Amidst the chaos of this perfect storm that was happening, the bolts of lightning could be seen from a single spot at the centre of the dark clouds. Those who were close enough in a safe location, one where they wouldn't be struck by the lightning or blown away by the gale-force winds, could see a figure within the centre of the clouds, a figure that was flying within the tempest. As they watched in disbelief that anyone, let alone a humanoid figure, could survive such insane weather. Even the most powerful of sorcerers and mages within this realm could only control a storm the area of a fraction of the size of this one. As Rogue and Remy got closer to the centre of the tempest, as if drawn by some unknown force, Remy had to take shelter behind some large rocks as the force of the weather got too much to bear. Rogue, on the other hand, was imbued with super strength, not only from her vampire lineage, but from the powers she had absorbed, which were now a part of her. She was virtually indestructible. She also had the ability to fly, which she used to fly upwards towards the person in the midst of the lightning strikes. As Rogue flew up, the figure came down in a near majestic pose, as if a goddess was descending from the heavens. As she slowly and elegantly flew down, the bolts of lightning were flashing around her, but instead of scaring Rogue and Remy, like the others who were hiding beneath the throes of the storm, they both saw the raw majestic power of this sorceress as she came down to earth. Rogue was pushed back by this goddess of the winds, as she raised her hands and a powerful gust pushed Rogue back to the ground. At this point, Rogue was both impressed, yet enraged at the show of power. As her feet touched the ground, the skies cleared and the winds calmed. The scene around them became quiet and tranquil, as if a storm had never happened. If it wasn't for the change in landscape, no one would have had a clue the weather had changed so drastically moments before. As this goddess of the weather looked up at Remy and Rogue, Rogue said with a smirk on her face, "That's quite a storm there. What's your name?" The ebony goddess just looked at Rogue and calmly said, "Storm. My name is Storm, and who might you be?" It was really fun doing something with X-Men and Dungeons & Dragons. It's been a little bit since we've done anything on the channel, and I hope you enjoyed how the artwork came out. I'm also loving the new X-Men 97 series which came out. There's 6 episodes so far at the time of recording this, and I know there's 10 in the first season. It's great that they got some of the original voice actors back, and if you want, check it out. With that said, if you want more X-Men or superhero content from the channel,